Hey everyone, this is episode 2 of Imposter Syndrome. If you haven't heard part 1, please go ahead and listen to that one. Thanks for listening to our conversation, and I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so speaking of imposter syndrome, which is what we're speaking of, so why did I say speaking of? I don't know. And so like I said, to me, it feels like I don't belong here. How do you feel when you go to things with other artists? Like if you go to another artist's gallery, or if you go to some type of creative meetup, or like the award ceremony and stuff. How do you feel in those situations?
Do you really want to know? Well, there's different feelings, right? Because we would used to we'd go to when we lived in a city, go to the art museum and go, and I would just get
so depressed.
I'd be blue afterwards.
We would go to an art gallery, and it would be this amazing. There was that one, and we saw a bunch of Monets and Van Goghs. That was in Fort Worth. Remember when we went with Alanie's? It's like a special exhibit.
Yeah, it was
it's like a lot of unique things we got to see. So living in a place like Dallas, Fort Worth, we had the opportunity to see so much great art. But when we would go to do those things, it would be weeks. It's not like you were blue for a day or two. No, weeks you would be blue after going to visit a museum. And it was just I already hate visiting museums. And now I have to living with Eeyore for weeks. It makes me even hate museums even more.
Well, I don't feel that way anymore.
You've gotten so much better.
Oh, thank you. I don't really think of it. I mean, you typically don't affect me one way or the other. I mean, if I see work that's inspiring for me, then I typically now will be I need to do better. Or, they're doing something that, not I'm going to copy their artistic style, but they're doing something cool. How could I...
So you feel inspired.
Inspired, that's the word. How could I do how could I make my stuff be more that way? Mm-hmm. In the sense that, what I see in it and what they've achieved and what I like about it, how could I, carry myself more that way? Rather, I don't feel... And then, the ad-fed, advertising stuff.
How do you feel about that? You wish your wife would stop drinking?
No. Baby daddy. No, those are... no, I don't feel...
How do you feel?
What do you mean? I don't look at other people's work and
okay, you have to leave that.
I'm gonna say this is the one I didn't want to answer. Okay. I'm fine being there, and I guess in terms of the graphic design and that kind of stuff, I'm that's not really the kind of most of the stuff that's being presented there isn't really stuff that I would feel bad about not creating. And then some of it's inspiring. There's some people in firms that are doing stuff that I'm oh, cool. The types of stuff they're doing is inspiring, but I'm not. I don't care about graphic design and stuff to heart, or corporate graphic design and things like that isn't really something that I care that much about. No, I feel this way at work. When I was pastoring, I was an associate pastor at a church until May. Mm-hmm. And not that it's imposter syndrome, but I guess a lot of what I feel is if I wasn't here, that nothing would change. And I don't know if that's imposter syndrome or not, but I feel that way.
You felt insignificant.
Yeah. Okay. But not I'm doing any harm, and not that I'm not doing anything at all. But if I'm gone, they'll be fine or better off without me.
That's imposter syndrome.
Okay. Well, then I feel an imposter syndrome at church. I feel an imposter syndrome, and as a marketing manager and as a husband and father. So I'm my family would be better off without me. And I'm no, statistically that's incorrect. So
thankfully he believes the science, folks. That's what's keeping him here is the science.
Because I love you so much. Y'all would probably be I wouldn't want to be around me all day.
Oh my gosh. What were they saying about needing a licensed practical counselor at this?
But I'm
Lord.
totally fine, you guys. I mean, you feel. Well, we don't go to photography things.
Okay, we're 20 minutes in, so.
I know, but let's 5 more minutes and it'll be 30 minutes. Like, as a photographer, you're anxious a lot whenever you have a shoot in a day or whatever, and whether it's, and like I said, it's things that you do all the time, but you're still anxious before every single one of them.
Yes.
If that's okay for me to tell everybody.
Yeah, and I will say I know I've talked about seeing a therapist before, and when I did see a therapist, it helped me a lot. I used to, driving home from a shoot used to be the worst, feeling in the world, because I could not wait to get home and put that card in the computer and make sure that everything was sufficient. These people have paid me money, and I have to load this, that drive home, all I was thinking about was everything I did wrong. Oh, these are going to be horrible. These are going to be the worst pictures ever. I'm going to have to give them their money back. The whole ride home would be nothing but self-hate talk, which is kind of sad when you think about it. And it would just, my anxiety would shoot up. Couldn't wait to get home. That car ride was torture, and it was torture, just that self-hate talk I would give myself. And today I had a school that I photographed, and that card is still sitting in the camera. And a lot now when I get home, and I still do it, I get home and I want to put the card in, but now it's more excitement. I'm the senior I photographed my first senior of the year. I could not wait. It was I want to get home and I want to get this card loaded because I'm excited, not because
I want to post it on Instagram.
Not because of dread. That was a huge game changer for me. That feeling of dread after a shoot versus I can't wait to see these images, being excited. And even today, the school I photographed, just being it can wait. I know, I guess I have more trust in myself now. I don't have to load those images right now because I know I did a sufficient job. So I guess my imposter syndrome is getting better, and therapy probably helped. Side note, mental health check.
What do you think helped?
EMDR. I don't know. I don't know how the therapist works. If I knew, we wouldn't need therapists. They do their magic, and they fix you.
But what's the difference now? When was there a difference between you riding home and feeling dread? Also, were we just too cheap to buy a laptop? Because we could have just.
Yes, I'm very cheap.
You can just bring a laptop with you and plug it in, and now you're okay, I can drive home peacefully now.
No. I can spend money on a laptop just to cure my anxiety. I'll just get therapy instead. I wanted to do a little mental health blurb to talk about normalizing mental health. Okay. Yes, you did. Side note, since I'm talking about therapy, mental health is important, and seeing a therapist is normal. If you feel like you need to see a therapist, you should. A lot of people don't realize that insurance covers mental health. So it doesn't mean that every therapist is on your plan, but if you do have health insurance, it's definitely something you need to check out. If you do not have health insurance, there are a lot of therapists that will see you for free at no charge. So if you need help, reach out to us. We'll put you in the right place. I do want to say that since we're talking about something.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, so go ahead.
Mental health check, I just thought you were saying you were doing a mental health check. So I was asking, what is the mental health check?
Oh, I just wanted to check on our viewers.
Okay, yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you meant you do a mental health check.
Oh, no, I meant for you, mental health check.
I realized I realized, gotcha, because I saw what you did. So now I realize. In the past. You said mental health check.
Okay.
So
I don't know what changed, but I remember.
You don't do a mental health check.
I remember it being this is different. I can still remember. I don't remember what session it was, but it was at the Creole House. It must have, it must have been all those minis I did at the Creole House that time. So it was one session after. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know when it was, but I can remember driving home from there and being oh, I don't feel totally panicked right now, which is normally how I felt. And I was this is different. Therapy's working. I don't know what it is that we worked through that did that. So I have made strides, I guess, in it. But yeah, the anxiety's not as bad, but I still have the anxiety. I mean, and you know that. You can attest to it. I've been photographing a lot recently, which is great. I did want to give an update on that we started off with coronavirus hit, all my business stalled, and now I'm back. Fall season has started. I'm back in the swing. I'm working a lot right now, which is wonderful. I'm so thankful for it, but it affects my sleep because before the shoots, I'm nervous I'm worried I won't wake up on time. I'm worried I'm going to forget something. I'm worried, like, all these things I worry about. Even the other night, did I tell you about how I was so thankful for my subconscious? Because at 2 o'clock, my subconscious woke me up and was like, you set your alarm for the wrong time. And I did. Okay. At 2:30, I woke up and I was like, how did I know this? I was like, you set your alarm for the wrong time. And I looked, and I sure enough had set my alarm for an hour later. I set my alarm for the time I needed to leave the house, not the time I needed to get ready. So I was like, whew, good thing I woke up in a panic at 2:30. And then I went and changed my alarm, and I went back to sleep. But then, like, a lot of times, like, those mornings I have to wake up super early. Like, I might have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I'll wake up at 4 and I can't sleep because I'm afraid I'm going to sleep through my alarm. That's not imposter syndrome, though. That's just general anxiety. So, ask me a better question about imposter syndrome. So I'm not talking about imposter syndrome.
I didn't ask a good enough question.
You had a good question, but it was interrupting my mental health check.
Do you have a different mentality personally that you realize now that has changed the way that you view your work or yourself or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
To bring in my therapist to maybe help us.
Well, okay.
I'm not very good at analyzing my emotions and my thought processes.
Okay. That's okay.
Something changed. I'm not sure what. Maybe I was putting off the perfectionist, like the standards I was putting on myself that no one else was, but I was.
Yeah.
Because if someone's paying me money, I think I need to do a perfect job. And it's like people just want good images of their family. Yeah. They don't like
perfect to you job, not a perfect to them job.
Yeah. So if I get their little girl and their big bow smiling, then they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself. I want everything to be perfect. But that's a standard I'm putting on, and I'm going to have different standards than my clients have. Obviously, I'm a photographer, so I know more. I see more. I see all my mistakes. They don't see my mistakes, which is great, and I'm not going to point my mistakes out to them either.
Yeah, so I think that like some of the big takeaways are you should take yourself seriously, but realize that you're never going to reach this form of perfectionism, a form of perfect. It's like imaginary or
exactly
like it's all made up. Like you're never going to be good enough in your own mind.
A big part of therapy in my job and in being a mother is I was trying to be like, I realized, well, I guess it's perfectionism. I was expecting me to be Jesus. Like, Jesus is the only perfect person. Like, and I know that. And I fully agree with that. Like, I am a Christian because I know I am not perfect and I need a Savior. And Jesus came and He lived that life for me. But then I am beating myself up because the standard I'm setting for myself is Jesus. Which we should, right?
But beat yourself up for not being perfect.
That's right. Okay, you're right. Good. I need to hear that. That's what I need to make sense in my brain.
Perfectionism is a goal that we are all shooting for, but it's perfectionism within our own mindset, and we're not giving ourselves the grace that we extend to other people. And we don't see the things in other people's art often, or other people's creative output that they see. So they see all the imperfections and things they wish they would have done, or colors that didn't come out right, or kid who was making a weird face. But we don't see that. We see overall, even if we're detail oriented, we see big pictures, and then we hone in on the stuff we do like. Whereas if it's your work, it's the opposite. You tend to hone in on the stuff that you don't like, right?
The perfect example is with cooking. Like, I love eating other people's food so much because when I eat their food, I just enjoy it. I don't nitpick it because I'm not going to, if your mom cooks a jambalaya, I'm not eating it to nitpick it. I'm not eating it to say what I don't like about it. I'm just, someone else has made a meal for me, and I'm just going to eat it. If I cook a jambalaya, though, I don't eat it like that. I eat it with, what did I do wrong? Right. What could have I done better? What is there too much of? What is there too little of? And I don't even enjoy it at all.
Well,
everyone else is enjoying it, and I don't even enjoy it because I'm analyzing it the entire time, and I'm not enjoying it. And I think that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, but you can reach a place where like you are now with your work, and where like I am sometimes, or like well, most of us are sometimes, like that we can be okay with it and actually enjoy it, and say like, well, and I think part of it too is not holding too dearly to every single thing we do. Like we want to do a good job, but realizing that your creative output isn't just one thing. It's going on and on and on and on and on. And so it's a series of things. It's a collection of work, not just one thing. And again, that's just do something. Just like continue doing it. Keep working on it. Don't give up. It's going to get better, but then it's like collectively going to be different. You're going to have hits and misses and things you like and things your wife likes and things your friends likes. But like maybe none of those things are all the same. But there's no perfect thing that you're going to achieve. And sometimes you do feel like you made something perfect, and then 3 years later you look at it and you don't even like it.
Yeah. And I want to say too about imposter syndrome, if you feel like you're struggling with imposter syndrome, if you're doing it, you're not an imposter.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
If you're doing it, if you're copying someone else, like, if you're taking someone else's drawing and you're tracing it, then yes, you're an imposter. But if you are taking a blank sheet of paper and putting watercolor on that and drawing your own thing, you're not an imposter. Or if you're taking a pen to paper and you're trying to write a poem.
Okay.
If you're doing
I'll put a subtitle at the bottom of what you're saying.
Okay. If you're doing it, the fact that you're doing it makes you not an imposter. I just wanted to give that little encouraging word. Just do it. The fact that you're doing it makes you not an imposter, no matter how you feel. Side note, if you're tracing, you're impostering. But I don't know, some people like, they'll take it and they clip it. They take someone's photograph and they clip it, and there's like that whole art form. Like the moral.
No, that was straight up.
Oh, never mind. That wasn't a good example of good art. Don't ask me. I don't know what good art is.
I mean, in my opinion.
I don't know what good art is because I'm not an artist.
It's subjective. He's been in way more galleries than I have. Yeah. Well, like, I'm afraid of getting fired, like, every week, so. Oh my gosh. But.
I wonder if your boss listens to this.
No.
Krist is not going to get fired, I don't think. I think your boss likes you.
He does.
He writes you thank you cards. Maybe I shouldn't do that in case no one else gets a thank you card.
That doesn't mean that I'm not like afraid. Like I'm just doing a whole job I shouldn't be there, and I'm probably gonna get fired as soon as they find out that I'm not really doing.
Y'all, the real reason I put that mental health check and like go see a therapist is I was trying to drop some hints to this man right here. I don't know if he's picking up on them though. I love you, babes. See a therapist.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I made this podcast to help other people. I don't need help.
No one's going to listen to us after this one. We're not even real podcast people. Wait, we're recording a podcast. We're not imposters. Full circle. All the time I go full circle. All the emotions. All four of them. All four Katie emotions.
Love, hate, joy, disgust.
Mm-hmm.
Fear. All right. Well, really, I just wanted this to be us sharing about it because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are aware of it as a concept, but like I think that for the people that are listening to it and listen to our podcast, a decent amount of them are friends, or people who follow what we're doing on a daily basis, follow our artist pages, or creative pages and stuff. And I don't want to give the impression that, we're just hunky-dory, happy, like everything's perfect all the time. Because that's another thing. You look at people's social media and like it just looks like everything's great all the time. And everything they post is awesome all the time in your mind.
But it's just their highlight reel.
But it's the highlight reel. It's literally, that's all it is.
Yeah. Because even a good example of that is my beach trip, where I'm on a beach trip with girls, and all my pictures were happy pictures. Someone's like, "Oh, look, you had a great time," and I did have a great time. But I was like, "Oh yeah, there was one point I was crying though, and they're like, "You didn't post about that," and I'm like,
yeah, here's a
I'm not
selfie
gonna
me crying in the bathroom
I'm
because
not
my son got exposed to coronavirus, and I'm not there to be with him.
and it was a great trip, but
that's typically how you see other people's social medias, regardless of how, even if that is actually how we are posting it or not. That's, if you did post your picture of yourself crying, people are like, oh, like she's being raw, whatever. I don't know, like we're doing on this podcast. But I really just felt like it's a discussion that's come up. The topic's come up a few times on the podcast. So I wanted to do an episode on it, or we did. And we haven't really talked about it until tonight, which is kind of what this podcast is doing. We'll be
like, no, save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast.
Because we're trying to make it conversationalist.
I just want to be real and raw with you people.
But then we look at the camera, we don't look at each other.
I've been looking at you the whole time.
Maybe we should record on the patio.
And crickets and bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Cat.
Oh, gosh. No, that would be awful. Thank y'all so much for listening
to Just Be Creative Podcast.
Follow us on Instagram at JustBeCreativePod.
Yep. www.justbecreativepod.com.